Uncuckables. Hello and welcome to the Uncuckables, episode 5. This is ANZAC Supper. I'm Tim Wilms, editor-in-chief of The Unshackled. I'm here with David Hiscox, editor of XYZ. I saw you this morning at the Dawn Service.
Thanks. Yeah, it was good to see you this morning. It was a lot of fun this morning.
Yeah.
At the Dawn Service.
I
Matty?
didn't see... who are you?
Yeah.
Me, I was... this morning reminded me of a song that was kind of big in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I was gonna do the Dawn Service, but then I got high.
Well, Matty, we've actually got like a melody for you.
I slept in until like 10:30.
If at any stage you feel tired tonight, just have another snooze.
Yeah.
In my defence, I couldn't have made it even if I hadn't
There is
slept
no
in.
defence.
I couldn't have made it.
No.
But it was
Mike
both.
is
It was
musty
both.
and
It was both a willful neglection of my duties to support the Anzacs, and also an inconvenience because I wouldn't have been able to make it because I couldn't.
There's the pillow.
Oh, as Ricky T would say, as he said to
very
those
comfortable.
police a couple of weeks ago, you're basically spitting in the face of our Anzacs.
I don't think that's the case. I found out today that my great great grandfather died in World War One.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when my great grandfather was very young. He was, I don't know exactly where.
Okay.
I'm not sure where exactly, but
Interesting.
so I have ancestors Anzac ancestors, so they'll forgive me. That's what matters.
All right, and yeah, you and I, we'll talk about, since we're the ones that were actually there, the Dawn Service at the Shrine of Remembrance. It went through the MC went through the various war stories, and which were quite interesting. You could probably pick off about 50 to tell. You could be going on forever. It was a good length, about an hour. The downlight I thought was hearing Daniel Andrews speak at what is an event of national pride.
Daniel Andrews was shocking. He opened with a welcome to country.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is sickening. That's
Yeah.
an insult. To
It's basically saying that, like, he's saying, oh, you fought for our country, but it's not your country. It belongs to the Aboriginal people. So in fact, you didn't fight for anybody.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we're just going to give it away. Like, it's our country, but it's not our country.
That's fairly typical of Dick Ears, though.
Yeah.
He's a virtue signaller extraordinaire.
It's an important thing because today with the federal election, both the Liberal Party and the Labor Party had like a ceasefire and they didn't campaign. But you effectively had Daniel Andrews up there still pushing a leftist narrative, using a pulpit to push a leftist narrative. So it's still campaigning as far as I'm concerned.
It was interesting that even the Greens said that they were not going to campaign today, and I wrote about this in my summary of Anzac Day in Melbourne, that it's the one remaining day of national unity which the left they found they haven't been able to tear down. I mean,
For now.
Yes, but there's been in the past. There was Scott McIntyre, the SBS sports reporter. He tweeted that the Anzacs were rapers and pillagers, and that was the end of his media career. And then, of course, Yasmin's infamous tweet in 2017, lest we forget Manus Nauru, Palestine, Syria.
She's gut-wrenching.
And yeah, she was so triggered by the backlash that she left Australia.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's annoying that, it doesn't really matter if we block your face, to be honest.
Yeah.
There we go. Just,
Looks much
we'll
better. I think
it's like that from now on.
likes have just gone up massively. Yes. One of two things will happen, because either the left will attempt to destroy Anzac Day, or they'll attempt to infiltrate it and kill it from the inside and then wear its carcass, like they usually do with everything else. At the moment, the left are focused on destroying Australia Day as their big push, and it's like they've got a hive mind and they're all just focused on that one thing. If they succeed in that, they will move eventually to Anzac Day. There are enough fronts that they can attack it on. They'll use the Muslim and the Turkish population living in Australia. They'll use the sort of just their general sort of soft anti-war stance all together. and just their hatred of all sort of masculinity, all those sorts of like typical like masculine traits that we sort of glorify when we're talking about the Anzacs and all that sort of stuff. And they hate our British origins as well, and so they'll attack it on all of those fronts.
It's a predominantly white holiday and Remembrance Day as well.
It was the ethno state.
Yeah, that's
today.
what I noticed as soon as I was in the Melbourne CBD, because when you're in the Melbourne CBD, it's like you're living in Asia. It was the whitest I'd ever seen the CBD.
Yeah.
It's something that I notice every Anzac Day.
Yep.
It's like we're able to colonize a small pocket of Melbourne again. I feel like it's 1850. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
It is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. On the on like just the left sort of infiltrating, like you can see how that, like again in Daniel Andrews' speech, how like that was going on, because he was also talking about how like the Anzacs fought for Australian values, and he used the ones I can remember that he used in terms of values were inclusion and harmony. The Anzacs did not fight for inclusion and harmony. They fought out of a sense of duty to the British Empire.
Did anyone get up and boo him?
I wanted to, but out of respect for Anzac Day, I didn't. Yeah.
Oh, but someone should get up and boo him.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Shut up!
Yeah, I just felt like I was thinking at the time, you do not have the right to be here and speak. I thought the same thing when he marched in the Australia Day parade, the official one,
the
and it's like we
multicultural
know what you really think, Daniel Andrews. You'd rather be with the Invasion Day people. I mean, you're enabling them to follow the parade route and then congregate at where the vegans were a few weeks ago in the middle of Swanston and Flinders Street and spout their burn down Australia mantra.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's on their side. Like, and he led a union march. Like, if we want to talk about unions, when the Anzacs got to Papua New Guinea in World War II, trying to stop the Japanese, when they first arrived there, they arrived there without rifles because the unions were blockading the ports and would not send materials across. The unions betrayed Australia during World War II. That's something that we've always got to keep in mind. It's something that cannot be repeated enough.
Okay, D is really triggered by the bottles being in a picture there, so I've got mine out of view. I've been quite smart.
Drinking water out of plastic bottles is the new white supremacy, actually.
Water's clear.
Yeah, exactly. Like our souls.
I'm
our
going to keep
superior
it up here
selves.
until it's finished, DR. It's good. Doesn't Daniel Andrews show everyone just how the left operate when they have enough power that they feel like they can abuse it?
Yeah.
He feels like he's almost untouchable because the democracy has failed in this state, and it's basically just a bunch of parasites voting for their overlord parasite to parasite for them. So he must feel completely unassailable at this point, and now he comes out and he pushes that crap on Anzac Day and he marches through Melbourne with the unions, basically blocking down and shutting down the entire city, CBD, so that he can push his far left agenda. He's gut-wrenching.
Have you heard the advertisements on the radio as well? The Victorian government is effectively doing extra campaigning for Labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're putting out these advertisements saying Canberra won't give us extra money for education or health or whatever it is. And so, but they're obviously not allowed to openly shill for federal Labor.
Yeah.
But they're putting out ads during the federal election campaign, criticising the coalition government for not giving
Daniel
them enough
Andrews, there was the Rorts,
the red shirts Rorts.
Yeah, red shirts Rorts in 2014.
He's corrupt.
Yeah.
He's corrupt.
And he got away
I'll
with
say
that, and
because he
got
is.
re-elected. So
His party used taxpayer money to help get elected. They used taxpayer money against the rules to help get elected, and only ever paid it back when they got caught. How the hell are they? Like, that should be. They should be charged. They should be charged for stealing because they stole money. That just shows you how broken our system is right now. That is pure corruption. That is what corruption looks like. But apparently we don't have laws in place to stop corruption of that kind.
As Bernie Finn says, it's Despot Dan's Victoria.
Dictator Dick is. He's Australia's biggest wanker. Just look at him. He's got 2 ears to wank at the same time.
I mean,
he's horrendous.
I notice when like the Unshackled ever does anything about Daniel Andrews, it just triggers a avalanche of just rage.
Yeah. He does not deserve to be anywhere near the reins of power, but such is the world that we live in, the clown world that we live in. Only in clown world does Daniel Andrews become Premier of this state and win 2 elections.
But the important thing was he had to pretend to care about the Anzacs today.
Yes.
Tom Tanuki and Slack Bastard were just voices in the cloud today. They didn't dare stage a anti-war, blood on your hands rally. But I think they're
5 years.
Yeah, but I think they're a bit conflicted because
by then they won't either.
They're obsessed with fighting Nazis, so they must support one particular war.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So they say that Anzac Day is about rape and pillaging of Muslims in the Ottoman Empire.
Let's not skirt around the point, though. If the Anzacs were alive today expressing the same views that they held back then these left-wing thugs would call them Nazis as well. Even the people that actually fought against the Nazis, they call them Nazis.
Well, yeah, they are effectively calling our Anzacs Nazis.
Yeah, they are. That's what they do.
Our Anzacs fought for Australia.
They fought for our
ethno
people.
state.
They fought for the Australian people.
Yeah.
They didn't fight for Australian values. They fought for their children and their families. And it's the idea that they fought for some multicultural hellhole is just an absolute disgrace. It's an utter disgrace. I'll have to go to the Dawn Service next year. You'll have to pull me up on it next year. But, I had other things to do.
Not attend once. Shame on us for not being forceful
it's just
enough.
so lovely.
Second year, shame on you.
No pillow for you.
Yeah, no, I didn't go last year either. I've never been to a Dawn Service, to be honest. I'm not a morning person. I find it extremely difficult to wake up, even at like 8 o'clock.
Or you have to get up at basically 4 a.m.
You have to be a baker.
And it's because the Anzacs landed at dawn on Gallipoli, and you and I were talking about this morning. Why can't it be on Turkish time, which means that the Dawn Service in Australia would be in the afternoon?
Mate, please
Do
it. Do a Turkish time service. Do 2 services. Do a Dawn service and a Turkish time service.
Knowing the larrikin spirit of our Anzacs, I think they would approve.
Yeah.
I get the impression, like from everything I know about our Anzacs, I reckon they had a lot of sleep-ins with hangovers. Yeah.
Well, there's no reason they couldn't do both, but it would probably lower the crowd at the Dawn service and move most of them to the afternoon service.
That's why New Year's is the best holiday.
Why?
because it doesn't happen until midnight.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
But that's just us with our own particular preferences.
Well,
New Year's
Eve
kind
of
person.
sucks.
I don't mind it at all. I actually also liked the fact that they held the march just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that was good
I got
as
to
well.
see that too. And like I said, it was like we colonized part of the city back then. It was beautiful.
And there was
We took it back for our people.
It's like everywhere I walked, I just heard bagpipes just going.
Yeah,
nuts.
and there was also the gunfire breakfast at the army barracks. I can't believe they're allowed to call it gunfire.
Is it gunfire or gun barrel?
Gun barrel, that's
Yeah.
it, yeah. It was actually quite nice, the egg and bacon roll. That was really nice.
I think I've got the veggie burger. Oh no, yeah, it's okay, but they put peas in it. Why did they put peas?
No, I liked the peas.
Yeah, we can move these over for Dia now.
Yeah.
I don't know why you've got actually a little table.
I
there.
want to trigger it.
Yeah, you've got the off-camera location there.
Yeah.
Yes. Shall we move on to...
Well, before we move on to the next topic, we at the Uncuckables have uncovered secret footage. It's secret footage inside the home of our biggest fan.
Oh, you mean pirate pisshead?
I do mean potato pisshead.
Potato.
Inside his home. Exclusive footage leaked to us.
Leaked, was it?
It was leaked. To us at the Uncuckables. I don't know who leaked it to us, but shall we watch this video? It's enlightening.
I'm gonna have to
It's
put this
enlightening, I promise you.
Captain Incontinent's my favourite fictional character.
What do these white supremacist bullheads have to say this week? Nothing as usual.
You can press play.
The Uncuckables.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncuckables. It's Easter Thursday. I'm Tim Wilms, editor-in-chief of The Unshackled,
What a gay boy.
and I'm here with David Hiscox, editor of XYZ.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Have you stopped beating your wife?
That homo doesn't have a wife. I call bullshit.
Well, apparently we're the Unfuckables, so no, I don't have a wife to beat.
Yeah, that's what I called you, gay boy. Didn't like that, did ya? What a woman.
And we, of course, have James Fox Higgins of The Rational Rise, who does have a wife, a lovely wife who I've met.
Yeah, right. I bet it's really a man.
Apparently, I actually heard that Matty, he actually gave Captain Pisshead, he actually gave him like a 1 month episode of asthma, and he hasn't been able to leave his house. Like he looks out the window and everywhere he just sees Matty, and like that's why he hasn't posted about us for a while. Yeah.
What the Oi, bitch, get in here.
Yes, babe. What's up?
Did you tell these white supremacist buffhead poofters the truth about why I got sick?
Hey, don't be silly. Are you on your period again?
I don't get periods, idiot boy. How do they know the truth then?
No idea. Maybe they just guessed. It's not like you're much of a mystery.
What's that supposed to mean?
When was the last time we cuddled, Petey baby?
Oh, just get me another beer, will ya?
Not until you say you love me.
Just get it, or you'll get it.
No.
Should've listened the first time, bitch.
Have you stopped beating her, James?
Never started, mate.
Fucking racists.
Every day a left-wing voter beats his wife. And left-wing violence today.
So it was totally leaked to us. That video.
Yeah, that looks
Yeah.
that looks fully legit.
I think it's
that
real,
way he
yeah.
hasn't made a video, because I noticed that he's not banned. He just hasn't made a video. Is he just is he just despairing?
He's triggered. Yeah, he sees Matty everywhere. Like he looks in the mirror.
He called our
sees
show.
like a ghost of Matty behind him.
Yeah, he called our show The Unwatchables. That was his
Unwatchables.
name.
The Unwatchables. Is that what it is? Well,
That sounds like the kind of humour that my dad comes up with.
the thing is,
Quite
if we're unwatchable, how come he's watching us?
There's a bit of self-hating lefty going on right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, if we were unwatchable, he wouldn't be watching us because we're unwatchable. You know, it's just
Well, the old argument is he watches us so others don't have to. Just like we never listened to. I used to listen to Triple M and Fox FM. I never heard Peter Grace on.
well, yeah. Well,
just went on later.
Yeah, you had to listen to him at 1 in the morning
Yeah.
if you wanted to hear him on Triple M.
In 1995.
Was it 95? Maybe it was a bit later than
Something
that.
like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to an old Martin Malloy tape. He was supervising a lot of the prank calls, so sort of highbrow stuff at commercial radio station.
Ah, very highbrow. Oh, I don't know. Who cares?
Well, I'll tell you who is unwatchable, and that's Bill Shorten. Manboobs.
He's an
Bill Shorten.
NPC. He's got a program. Have you ever seen it? Like, watch him when he's getting interviewed. It's like, answer. It's like he's going through a file and going, this is the way to answer.
Should we spend a few moments talking just like Bill Shorten?
Ask me a question.
So Bill Shorten, what's your position on stealing people's money and giving it to the ABC?
Well, it's always good to have a position. Everyone needs a position on certain things. And the ABC does a great service to the Australian community.
All I can say, Matty, is you need a saggy pair of tits.
You didn't answer the question.
I think I did answer the question,
No, you didn't.
Tim. I did answer the question, Tim.
So do you support money being stolen to fund the ABC?
Well, nobody supports stealing. And I just have to say, once again, as I answered before, that the ABC does a great service to the Australian community.
That's spot on.
I know.
Yeah.
That's how he answers it.
Yeah.
It's all on a program.
Yeah.
So Shorten, last week he wouldn't answer the question about what was the cost to the economy of his electric car and climate change policy.
Well, he came back with the answer the next day, and his answer was just, "Oh, it's not going to cost anything to the economy," which only really highlights that the journalist wasn't asking a very good question. He
So-
should have asked, "What is going to be the cost to the budget, the bottom line of the budget? How much is it going to cost taxpayers in
Yeah.
taxpayer money?"
Now he won't answer whether he supports the Adani coal mine. He uses these weasel words, well, if it stacks up environmentally and economically, which basically is weasel words for, like, if I decide that I don't like the project anymore, I'm just going to can it. That's what it means.
Yeah, as you said, weasel words. He's not giving a straight answer. Yeah.
And I noticed that the Liberal Party, or it was one of the Conservative groups, they dug up a year ago where Bill Shorten said he opposed the Adani coal mine.
Well, it is a wedge for him because
It was Matt Canavan. Matt Canavan did that, national senator.
Yeah. There'll be union jobs riding on this as well. So,
He's not signing the CFMEU jobs pledge.
Yeah. So, like he can't come out dead against it because he's got union jobs on it. But, then he's got the far left greeny side that he wants to sort of keep in line as well. So, yeah, it's obvious why he doesn't want to actually give an actual answer.
And then he was asked about his tax policy by a voter who was at the higher end of the tax scale. And Bill Shorten says, "Oh, we're not going to raise your taxes. We're actually going to give you a tax cut." And the journos immediately picked it up and said, "No, your policy is to increase his taxes." Bill Shorten thought he could just get away with misleading a voter like that. Like, that's how brazen he is.
So the journalists are correcting Bill Shorten on his own policy.
Yeah. Because Bill Shorten, like, he's got just a free ride. He thinks that he can just get away with it. Like, he was actually triggered last week when a journalist actually followed up with him. He's not used to that. The journalists are awakening. They're doing their job.
To be honest,
I don't
they
give them
actually
that
sound
much
like
credit.
his media advisors. To be
I
honest.
don't give him that much credit. I believe that a lot of it, even that guy, that journalist, looking back on it in reflection, the one that asked him the question, it's almost like it could have been that he was just trying to give Shorten a tee up, and then he's answered the question the next day, and he's like, "Oh, it's not going to cost anything to the economy." It's like, oh god. Bill Shorten is gut wrenching. Imagine having a Bill Shorten Prime Minister and a Dickie as Premier. Oh.
Yeah, there's a
I
photo
might
of
not have to
them.
imagine it anytime coming soon.
There's a
hopefully.
photo of them having a beer together, sitting down and having a beer. I should have got it up, but it's...
Really?
Yeah, it's probably a light beer.
Did either of them short circuit? It's a legitimate question. I want to know. Like, did either of them actually start going zzz after they had their beer because the beer short circuited them?
What I have been liking from the Liberal campaign, they've finally got a spine this election, is they've started a fear campaign on saying that Labor is going to introduce a death tax, inheritance tax, because the unions are in favour of it. The proposed Assistant Treasurer, Andrew Lee, has written about it. And the Greens, well, they had it as a policy until Julian Burnside came along and was like, "Oh, no, I don't want to give my hard-earned money over to the government when I die." And so now Bill Shorten's saying, no, it's a lie, it's fake news. I want Facebook to investigate the spread of this fake news. And I don't care if it's a lie, because in 2016, the Labor Party ran on the Medicare lie, saying that Medicare was going to be privatised, whatever the hell that meant. And the Liberals just sat there saying jobs and growth. And I recall the Liberal campaign director at the time, Tony Nutt, in his post-election mortem at the press club, he actually cried and said, "The Medicare, it scared my elderly mother." And like, you're a campaign director. You're supposed to be a tough, aggressive, assertive guy, and your response is to get butthurt over the opposition's ads. I mean, why are you in the job?
Tim's fired up.
He is.
Wow.
Because they sucked last election,
his eye is
and
quivering.
it's refreshing that they're finally on the attack this election and giving Labor a taste of their own medicine and playing dirty.
It is good that they're attacking on that. In terms of like your choice of words, I'm not going to like agree with the idea that the Liberal Party are growing a spine until they put out a policy that they're going
Oh,
to put
fine.
that,
Give me right.
that they're going to that they're going to cut immigration to zero, and
Yeah.
Whoa, one step at a time.
They're cowards.
Yeah.
They're all in it for their own pensions and jobs, these major parties. So anything they say, you just take it with a grain of salt.
You agree
What I was
that-
going to say is, with Bill Shorten, we should get him on camera saying there will be no death tax under a government I lead.
I think
Get
he
it
has
repeat-
said
yeah,
that.
He has said that. Well,
we've heard,
Yeah.
we've heard that
we've heard that
We've heard that
before.
before. Yeah.
They've said this kind of thing before, and we all know what happens. But imagine Julian Birdside doesn't win his seat, which is most likely, although he could win it based on celebrity factor. Who knows? But imagine he doesn't win his seat, and the Greens decide that they do want a death tax, and all of a sudden, Bill Shorten offers a death tax. Or
Yeah.
what they would do, the Greens would want a tax on carbon through someone's life, and when they die, they tax them based on how much wealth they have at the end of their life, based on the amount of carbon emissions that they've
Yeah.
done over their life. It'll be
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
ridiculous like that. There'll be some way around it that they find.
And you can also
This is
guarantee
how the
that the
left
ABC
operate.
will not hold them to account for it.
Of
as
course
well.
they won't.
Yeah.
The mainstream media won't hold them to account
Yeah.
because they're all part of the same party, really.
I think that might go back to, like as we were saying, like that goes back to why Bill Shorten is the way that he is. He's incredibly lazy. Like, it's one of the things that we talk about, one of the differences between people on the right and people on the left. People on the right are used to defending their arguments. They're used to being attacked, like, say, online from all sides, and they're used to being able to drag up like 2 or 3 articles which like provide the statistics which back up their point. They're used to having to know a couple of like key points just all the time, because like we're used to the idea that like if I'm in a room and I'm going to say something which pretty much everybody else disagrees with, I'm going to need to be able to defend it. Bill Shorten is not used to that. He hasn't had to develop that skill. Yeah.
Well, his programmers haven't had to develop that AI just yet. We've
Yes.
got to actually make
That
sure
is
the
that is a
terminology-
legitimate
right.
theory. Yes.
Perfect.
We were going to talk about this on our live stream, but we forgot. But we might have mentioned it.
Because you are high.
Probably. I've had a fun week. Very relaxing and productive week, actually. It's funny. So I made the Fraser Adding ad, and then I made that video got leaked. It got leaked, and I've also made this other video up. I've got to do a few more touches to it. Did I tell you about it? I found this old footage of Melbourne, and it's like a day in the life of Melbourne.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
really?
I've seen
Yeah,
that
you
one.
seen that one?
Look,
and
look,
I've got
football
the
is
commentary.
just it's
No,
it's
not
a silly...
Melbourne. Not
Oh.
no. Melbourne
Oh,
Football
right.
Club are in it. Don't worry, I made the Demons a star of this one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've done the commentary in the old radio, and I've made it so it's old radio voice.
I'm not even triggered.
No, and you'll see it. I've got a couple of things to do it, but I think you guys are gonna really enjoy that one. But anyway,
Yeah.
you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it because of
What happened to Melbourne?
what
Yeah.
happened in Melbourne.
Oh,
But anyway, I was going to talk about Bill Shorten. I'm giving people previews of my upcoming content, which I made whilst relaxing. And the thing about Bill Shorten is, I was going to ask a question. If he is our first ever NPC Prime Minister, like genuine NPC Prime Minister, does that mean we get diversity points as a country? You know, because it's like you got the first woman Prime Minister, first black Prime Minister. We've never had that, but you know, we've had one woman, and it was a disaster. But anyhow, you know what I mean? Like, do we get diversity points for having an NPC Prime Minister?
Do you think he would be the first NPC Prime Minister of a country, though? Because Justin Trudeau, I think there's a strong case that can be made for him as well. Like, the guy literally gave an answer to a question on why he wanted a certain policy. He literally said, because it's the current year.
I haven't seen enough of Justin Trudeau to comment on whether or not he's a genuine NPC.
He cries on cue.
He could be an NPC.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not
He
the world's
has
first, but he'll be
malfunctions.
Australia's first NPC Prime Minister.
Yeah. And then there was the Hillary, like when she did the whole...
Oh, yeah.
that-
with
like,
the,
if that's
the,
not
the
a robot.
balloons. She acted shocked by the balloons and streamers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Hillary Clinton's an NPC. When I look at her and listen to her, I don't think NPC.
She's
I
just
think satanic evil.
Yeah,
was gonna say,
evil
yeah,
personified.
yeah,
That's
She's like the one controlling the NPCs. Like,
yeah,
and it's only natural that she would take on some of the traits of her minions.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll pay
Yeah.
that. I'll pay that.
I also want to keep praising the Liberal campaign. They've been, because you know
Do
how
all that, I guess. There we go.
you'd be aware of meme warfare, wouldn't you?
Meme warfare.
What's a meme?
What's a meme? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
What's
funny.
a meme?
Oh, well, I'll show you what the Liberal campaign has been doing. They've been doing pop culture memes. So this is what they put out on Monday, Game of Thrones nights. House Labour. Labour never pays their debts.
That's clever.
Oh,
Who made that?
This isn't the complete. Well, the description said the last time Labour had a surplus, Bob Hawke was on the Iron Throne.
I'm not sure if that's this is like a boomer meme.
Yeah, no, it's very
Yeah.
boomer, isn't it?
Because to me that looks like the father of the Lannisters, the guy who was killed when he was on the Dunny.
Yeah.
And the thing about Game of Thrones is that Game of Thrones manipulates you into rooting for the bad guy, and so if they're trying to make Bill Shorten kind of look like the Father Lannister, whatever his name is, then that could kind of backfire just a little bit.
Yeah, you're doing spot on. Detailed analysis of these memes.
I've spent a lot of time analysing Game
Yeah,
of Thrones.
he's a meme spurt. That's what he is.
All right, let's have a look at another meme. Bill Shorten, Endgame, Big Tech Studios.
That's all right. Everybody.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's not bad.
It's. I Thanos. I understand that it's Thanos.
This
and-
was last night,
Trying
the big Marvel premiere.
Okay. But who made that?
I assume they've got a meme team on there.
Or is it in the Liberal?
Yeah, this is on the Liberal Party official page.
Oh. Oh, I didn't hear that part when you said that. That makes it interesting.
Yeah, so this is,
These are really, really trying very hard. They've definitely got the boomer, boomer. They're channeling their inner boomer with these memes.
Yeah. Until they have a Virgin Labour and Chad Liberal, they've got to spend a bit of time before Chad.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'm not actually against the boomer memes, like the boomer style of memes. As
I guess it appeals to
know.
boomers.
Well, they can be simple and quick and easy, but a meme also needs to be edgy.
Yeah.
And that's not edgy. Like, that's just a political ad.
do you think they
Really.
need to take on Andrew and Radomir?
Andrew, what?
Yeah,
know,
probably. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even know who that is.
Yeah. The guy. Yeah. They need guys who just know this stuff. Basically.
They need Make Australia Grouse again.
Oh, yeah, Gallifrey Jones.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd last too long with them. They'd probably sack him just for being too funny. That's what the Liberals do these days. They sack anyone who's effective.
Okay, so the Liberal Party are boomer posting.
Yeah. Now, Get Up. Well, everyone's been giving them free publicity lately.
Do I have to listen to this one?
Yes.
yeah,
But they everyone's been trying to bring them down, but they brought themselves down this week with this horrendous ad that they put out attacking Tony Abbott. Where is it? Oh, here it is here.
This is the Get Up ad that it now doesn't want you to see.
Tony! Someone's drowning!
Ridiculing Tony Abbott's views on climate change.
Look, I think you'll find that the science isn't settled on that.
Released days after father and son volunteer lifesavers Ross and Andrew Powell drowned, and attacking a man who spent more than 20 years as a lifesaver.
It was unbelievably tacky.
Get Up pulled the ad, but the left-wing activist group, which demands accountability from others, refused to be interviewed, instead releasing a statement apologising for the insensitivity of the timing and subject matter.
They should never have thought it was a smart thing to demean the work of Australia's 150,000 or so volunteer lifesavers.
The opposition leader agreed.
Grossly disrespectful.
But the government pounced on this exchange.
Be good to see.
There we go.
So Get Up and boomer posting as well.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't when they this is a high quality production. Doesn't somebody along the stage say, "Hey, this is looks a bit lame and it's exaggerating things too far."
This is Get Up, mate. Aren't they boomers themselves?
Oh,
Isn't it
yeah,
just
yeah,
6
they're
boomers
white,
sitting
yeah.
in office,
It's
just
Ali
getting money from
Siegel's
Soros and other parasites.
campaign photo. It's all old boomers.
And people who are in a bubble as well. It's the ABC and Get Up and people involved in that sort of stuff. Like, these are people who, if they ever travel to an outer suburb, it's on their way to, like, Port Fairy Film Festival or something like that, you know, folk festival. Like, these people only know people who are lefties, and so they make comments about Tony Abbott and everybody laughs. Like, we all think it's lame because we're like, well, hey, like Liberal and Labor are all globalists anyway. But that's just their little mindset. And like, as we were talking today as well, like, it took seven Q&A producers apparently spoke to Zaki Mallah, and he still got on. So if that can happen, this can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also reminded me of when Kathy Griffin held up Donald Trump's bloodied head. No one told her that you shouldn't do that.
Someone's like, oh, this might be a bad idea, guys.
Yeah.
And they also got exposed for lying in Josh Frydenberg's seat of Kooyong. They said he was behind the plot to get rid of Malcolm Turnbull. He wasn't. He was like ScoMo. He literally fell into the job because Peter Dutton's people got rid of Malcolm Turnbull. Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg put their hands up, and then, oh wow, we're leaders now.
Yeah, it's typical of Get Up too. Like, if they're going to go after Josh Frydenberg, they should go after him for being like a front for the global, like, central bankers. Oh, is that what
We can't get that. I'll need that pillow.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just need the pillow quickly.
It's still starting.
Now, the candidates have been declared for the federal election now. Nominations closed on the Wednesday. They had the ballot draw on Wednesday. It got progressively announced. Obviously, we're more interested in the minor party race. It's obviously going to be a lot harder for minor parties with the new Senate voting system because they basically have to get most of a quota on their own, and the right vote is extremely fractured at the moment. We've got, obviously, Pauline Hanson has been the major player in the past parliament, but we've also, obviously, Fraser Anning.
Wait, so what do you mean? I'm not fully up to speed on how the Senate voting works. What if you've got like 1,000 or 1,000,000 people who all vote, say 1 to 6, say Fraser, One Nation, Conservatives, LDP, Shooters, Physicians, Farmers, and some other parties. So there's 1 to 6 these minor parties, and 1,000,000 people all vote for the same 6 minor parties. Does that mean that? What does that mean there? Like, does that mean only the parties that get the full quota can get in? What if it's like everyone has 200,000 votes each, and
the
or
thing
whatever
is,
whatever
even
the
though
numbers
there's
are?
those how to vote 1 to 6, because like there's like 20 groups in some states, the votes exhaust, and all the right-wing minor parties are not going to preference each other, and so the votes are going to get, because, and especially since the voter controls their preferences, the right-wing votes are going to be exhausted quicker, and that's what we saw in the New South Wales Legislative Council, that left-wing parties were more likely to give their preferences to another left-wing party, and that's how the Animal Justice Party was able to get elected in the end. And so the right vote stays fractured, the preferences don't come back.
So what you're saying is that everyone should just preference right-wing parties?
Yes, that's what I'd instruct you to do.
Well, that's what I've always done.
And also,
So I thought everyone would do that.
this one's really important. If you want to vote for a minor party on the right, you've got to put the Liberal Party last, because as much
Last on the ballot.
on the ballot,
In the lower house.
the Liberal Party has to understand that if they're not going to actually like pay attention to the minor parties and to actually have genuine nationalist policies, which the minor parties are talking about, then we're not going to vote for them. It's not going to be a let's go for the minor parties, but like, oh, but we'll still keep the Liberal Party there. Like, that's always just
Yeah,
gonna
we
keep
need to get rid of the
status
Liberal
quo.
Party.
Yeah.
The Liberal Party are the biggest reason that the culture has gone so far to the left.
Yeah.
They're responsible for it. They should have fought harder to bring the nation back from the brink. They haven't. They've sold us out to globalists for their own selfish interests. So the Liberal Party really need to be gotten rid of. So I agree with that. I think you should probably put Liberals last. Yeah, we'll suffer Bill Shorten prime ministership for a few months probably.
Before we
Man,
start.
maybe you can-
Before we
Man,
start.
maybe you can
Before
hack-
we get Penny Wong, who's much worse,
you
or
can- you
someone
can-
else, because
there could be
they'll
an
knife him.
opportunity to
Who
hack
knows?
his NBC programming, reprogramming it.
I just think it would be hilarious watching Bill Shorten try to answer questions from the media, because they'll have to actually ask him hard questions when he's Prime Minister. Otherwise, people are going to hate them even more than they already do, which is a lot. It'd be funny watching Bill Shorten trying to push his agenda through, answering questions from the media, and having to deal with a hostile Senate. So this is why the Senate battle is the most important one. So if we can get... If Fraser Anning wins a seat, and then other minor parties like nationalistic or nationalist-leaning minor parties control the balance of power, that would be ideal, because then Shorten will be struggling to get legislation passed. He'll have to go through, hopefully, our side, the real Australians' side, in order to pass legislation, unless he teams up with the Liberals, which will only destroy the Liberals even faster. So really, the Liberals are arguably the biggest enemy to the nationalist movement at this point, because they are taking voters who would otherwise vote for us.
They're the Ben Shapiro of
Yeah.
political parties. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get rid of the Liberal Party and replace them with a party that is genuinely nationalistic and has the Australian people at heart. Because the Liberal Party are taking on all these voters who are conservative-minded, the boomer conservatives, the people who want lower taxes and all that kind of thing, away from us. So this is why I think it's important for Fraser Anning to also have a platform of low taxes and economic deregulation, because he could win over those boomer conservatives. If he comes up with something like a comprehensive superannuation reform that scraps superannuation tax, or does something to give people back more money or more of their super back, or even just says, I'll approve any tax cut or something like that, then he will win even more support. That's the one thing he's lacking right now, comprehensive economic policy. I've seen a couple of his economic policies, they're not great. That's his biggest fallback, but the nationalism is more important. We can worry about economics once we've got our country back. But still, I think it's something that he should look at. He should consider essentially not adopting the Liberal Party's policy on tax, but potentially even going a step further than them in terms of actual genuine deregulation and cutting of taxes, in order to strengthen the real economy, the economy outside the Ponzi finance system.
Well, we're going to take an ad break now, and the ad is your ad. You put together an ad on your channel for Fraser Anning. We'll play it here on the Uncuckables to see what the audience think of your...
They've probably all seen it, to be fair.
Oh.
Just show it again.
Show it again. Yeah, if you missed it.
And after that, we've got some big news.
What's happening now is that whites are becoming a minority in their own countries. Some of these people have left their country, they've crossed several other countries that could have given them refuge. They've come to Australia because we have such a generous welfare system.
Now we've got sheikhs and muftis in this country that regularly say that they advocate for throwing homosexuals off buildings or stoning them. Some of these people even get to have dinner with the Prime Minister. My real crime, of course, is that I simply told the truth at a time when the left-wing political and media elites least wanted to hear it.
It was the whites who built these nations, and that's why some of these people are wanting to come to these nations, because we have what they don't have. They still have their broken down holes that they come from, we don't need to turn our countries into those same broken down holes that they came from.
That's the truth nuke.
The truth nuke, yeah, that's brilliant.
That was a truth nuke at the end if you didn't hear it.
They're broken down shitholes.
I'm wondering, because, yeah, a lot of people liked it. You could do a crowdfunding campaign to see if you can get it on, or if not on television, or boosted on social media.
People should just share it around if they want to.
Anning can share that.
Yeah,
That'll
you
go
could
nuts.
share it.
Yeah.
If Anning that'd be good if Anning shared it. And also, it is Creative Commons, so I'm making it public domain. So anyone, I'm on record, anyone who wants to download it and put it on their channels or on their Facebook pages, all I ask is for credit. So just make sure you credit it back to me, potentially link back to my channel if you can. But just direct people back to my channel, and you can download that and put it up wherever you like.
Yeah, put it up on the Unshackled. We'll get it.
Put it on the Unshackled.
Post as well. Yeah.
I don't even mean just sharing it on YouTube, like linking the YouTube. I mean, you can actually download the file yourself and share it wherever you like. Yeah. But yeah, again, just make sure you credit myself because I made it.
And also, Anning has announced his candidates, so they've been confirmed now, so he's already been progressively announcing his candidates through the past week.
Yeah, they've got candidates all over Australia now, basically, like all the way through, like the Senate's, the lower house. They've got candidates for every spot for the lower house in Queensland. They've just got full candidates for all the Senate spots. It's amazing. They've just been overwhelmed. Yeah.
One thing we saw Anning on Dia's live stream last night. He said that they had about 2,400 members. Now I've seen numbers that were higher than that. I mean, 2,400 is still quite a lot, obviously. But is that confirmed, or is he misdirecting there, or is
it's judging on the receipt numbers that we've seen, because people have been posting like their membership, and it's got the receipt number, and the receipt number shows a number that's well above that 2,400.
Yeah, we think it's almost like 10 times that amount, basically.
Provided the receipt numbers are
all memberships.
The membership. Well, it's payment for the membership, so provided that their receipt numbers are chronological and go up one at a time, then that would be correct. Which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, because I got mine on like the first day, and I was number 506 or something.
Yeah, that's first day.
Yeah, that was on the first day, and then other people, a week later, and it was higher and stuff.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he could be misdirecting people, or it could be that the receipt numbers just jump a whole lot once they get to a certain point. Who knows?
I don't know if
I noticed that the website is Squarespace, so we should investigate how the Squarespace receipt numbers are generated.
Potentially, yeah. Who knows? It's a mystery.
There's also some big news. Like, we've got a media alert from Fraser Anning's office, basically. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m, Fraser Anning is going to be doing a speech. He's going to be announcing the candidate for Cook and the New South Wales Senate team. And he's going to be doing that at Dunningham Park, Kingsway, Cronulla, in front of North Cronulla Surf. Basically, that's the place where the Cronulla riot happened. So he's actually picking that spot to actually announce his who his Senate team is. And from what I understand, he's going to be talking about Muslim immigration as well. So it's
fantastic.
I think it's pretty cool, because I think it's important that we sort of reclaim Cronulla and the story of Cronulla from the left. Like, the left have made it about basically just the worst thing that ever happened. They've made it into the Australian Kristallnacht, essentially. But what actually happened there was like a legitimate
there was a lead up
reaction.
to it.
Yeah, there was a lead up to it, and it was a legitimate reaction against violence by Muslims against Aussies.
Yeah, like bikini girls.
Yeah, and like there was an aftermath of it as well. Like
there was the revenge nights.
We don't hear about like how they just like vandalized like hundreds of cars all the way through like Cronulla and everything like that. Like you had like entire convoys coming from the west.
And of course the police and the media didn't really mention this in their reports or anything like that, because they had their narrative to run, and their narrative is always going to be anti-white, because that's basically their agenda, to be anti-white.
Yeah. So you basically know, like, if stuff happens tomorrow, like the media will try to paint it as Cronulla 3.0, because they've tried to paint St Kilda as Cronulla 2.0, and they'll try to paint this as Cronulla 3.0.
It would be great to be there. See, I'd vlog that one.
Yeah.
And it's
It'd be
later
good
in
to
the
be- it
morning,
would
so
be
I'd
good
be
to
able
be
to wake up in time.
Well,
10
Well, I don't have to wake up at 9.
I guess I could start driving when the live stream finishes.
Yeah, we could just get going now.
Yeah, convoy.
The candidate selection hasn't impressed all of Senator Anning's supporters, namely one of your contributors, Adam Pigott. He doesn't like that Anning has selected as his running mate for the Queensland Senate, a gentleman by the name of Paul Taylor.
That's like me moving to India and calling myself...
Yes, even though he's got an
You said that on
Anglo
Monday. We actually spoke
name.
about this at length on Monday. Do you not watch our show?
Yes, I do. Do watch your
Well, it's
show,
still
but I think it's
important
worth
news.
discussing again, because I thought that Adam was just engaging in like gratuitous puritanism.
Puritanism.
Yeah, wanting to be holier than thou, and he's done this before because he wrote a article. Sherry Sufi, who's a right wing Liberal Party figure, he wrote an article in the Australian wanting to reduce immigration to Australia, but wanting to make a special allowance for white South Africans. And Adam basically wrote, "Oh well, why don't you start with yourself and just deport yourself?" And
he was right about Sherry Sufi. Sherry Sufi is part of the problem as well. Like, Sherry Sufi is one of those guys who tries to hold the line that he's the only kind of guy who can get away with this because he can use his ethnicity as a shield. So he's basically saying, let me be the advocate for you white people.
I think Sherry Sufi genuinely believes that, but he's up against the same sort of barriers that any type of person black or white
Fraser
in a
Anning
major
has shown
party
us
is.
that those barriers, they're ephemeral. Like, all you have to do is you just go like this, and they just go. And there's a whole middle Australia there. There are millions of votes there just waiting to come across, waiting for somebody to genuinely say this. I think the Liberal Party have sort of backed themselves into a corner where they believe this lie that you have to just push this stuff incrementally and you can't just go all out. And so that's why I actually love that article that Adam did about Sherry, because it just called it out straight out. Because Sherry's one of those guys who, I do have an understanding for their situation. I think a lot of people who are not European come to Australia and realise that this is the best that they're going to get. And they understand that if mass immigration continues, it's going to change Australia to be basically what they got away from. And so they want to have a little bit of nationalism, but they don't want it to get out of hand. So they want to have just enough nationalism that it keeps Australia the way it is, but doesn't take Australia back to the way it was.
This might lead into us talking about Dia's live stream with Senator Anning last night, and she spent a whole bunch of time because she is a Latina, which is not.
Well, she
classified
says
as
she's a
strictly
Latina,
white.
but she's got a DNA test up that puts her, I believe, at 75% European heritage.
So she's just saying Latina just to be cute.
I am a dear Latina.
If she's still in the live chat, if she's triggered, she'll post in the live chat.
Yeah, of course you will.
Yeah,
Spooky.
so she spent a whole bunch of time saying oh, would you deport my mother? And this is what I sort of, how a lot of minorities react to nationalism, and those who identify as white nationalism, they take it as a personal attack against them.
Yeah, they will take it as a personal attack against them in some instances. So for me, I think there's a simple answer to that, because obviously it's a complex issue, and there are gonna be people who are sort of caught in the middle, in that they're not quite white, or maybe they're half white, or whatever it is. I mean, people who are genetically half white, well, we'll see. We could have an in-depth discussion about that. I'd probably have to hear other people speak about before I made a full decision and I had a full position on that one, because it is a complex issue. When it comes to situations like Dia's mother, I would say, well, she's married to a white man, therefore it's okay. And her child is overwhelmingly European heritage anyway. That's the thing about mestizos. Mestizos are already essentially half white, if not more than half white in most instances. I haven't met Dia's mother, but you can usually tell how white a mestizo is just by the colour of their skin. Like, obviously, the lighter their skin, the whiter they are. But in terms of, like, especially South Americans, I mean, I wouldn't be worrying if your mother is married to a white man of almost entirely European heritage. Then I don't see any reason why you would consider deporting an individual married in that with children. If they're married with children, then well, it is what it is.
But it's still understood that, like, if enough South Americans and Central Americans go to the USA, it's going to change the demographic makeup of the USA as well.
Well, of course, and that's the thing. I've always said this in my own live streams and my own position, is that there's a difference between one individual coming over and marrying a local and having children with them, and then their children also marry locals and they have children, and then essentially the genes that you got from this foreigner come in, and then in 3-4 generations it's a genetic marker. Yeah. So it doesn't really affect the overall population in terms of their heritage and all that kind of thing, and it actually probably adds a little bit of genetic diversity, which can increase the health of a population. I mean, this is in terms of, like, biologically, because it can give you immuno benefits and all that kind of stuff. That's okay, but when you have 1 million people coming in, and they come in and they set up a ghetto, and they only interact with their own people, and they only breed with their own people, and they don't intermarry, or the ones that do, they'll intermarry and they'll even take individuals into their culture. I mean, that happens as well with these immigrant communities. Someone might marry a white local and then assimilate the white local into their community, and their children marry the foreigners. You know, that's even worse. Then we're losing people, essentially. So we don't want that either. So the way to solve it is to have an immigration system. We need zero, and then second of all, we need to be shameless about the fact that we want to keep Australia an overwhelmingly white country. Must be overwhelmingly white, and you can even go farther in saying, all right, we want it to be overwhelmingly Anglo as well, but anyone who's of European heritage can stay regardless, and then work from there. And then the thing is, unfortunately, you're going to have issues where there are families who have been here for 3-4 generations but are of Indian descent or Chinese descent or whatever it is. With these people, unfortunately, I think the solution is going to have to be to say, look, I'm sorry, but you can't actually live here anymore. Because if they've been here for 4 generations and they haven't assimilated if 4 generations ago they were Chinese, and these people's great-grandchildren are still Chinese or whatever it is, they're not going to assimilate. Yeah, look, they might have Australian customs and all that kind of thing, but they're still marrying Chinese, they're still in the Chinese culture, they're still doing...
They're still living in certain geographical areas as well.
Exactly right. So they're still essentially setting up a nation within a nation, and we can't have that. This is what we can't... This isn't about being angry or hateful towards these people. It's about protecting our own territory and our own culture and our own people. And unfortunately, for those people, they haven't made anywhere near enough of an effort, and they're going to have to leave. So, and we're going to have to just put our foot down and say, look, sorry, you can't. The Constitution doesn't allow... I know the previous government said that you were citizens. Unfortunately, the Constitution of Australia means that only Europeans can be citizens, and that's basically what was written. And if you don't believe me, go listen to Henry Parkes or the first prime ministers and all the people who wrote the Constitution, and they will all agree with what I'm saying in terms of immigration and citizenship and all that kind of thing. And they'd probably be more in line with Adam Piggott, to be honest. No, I'm a moderate. Fraser Anning is Adam's article today, and Fraser Anning, Piggott's article today was correct. Fraser Anning is a moderate. I'm a little bit less moderate than Fraser Anning, but compared to a lot of the people in the nationalist community, I am very moderate.
And he did his best to sort of, reassure Dear that no, like, I definitely I do see that there's many immigrant success stories, and the phrase that he repeatedly uses predominantly European, which is not... He doesn't advocate explicitly for an ethno-state, but sort of he wants to see, like, the Australia how it was.
Yeah. You mean an ethno-state?
But it wasn't an ethno-state.
It was an ethno-state. It was founded as an ethno-state. A white ethno-state is the whole reason we had the Constitution. It was in order to close our borders and send foreigners packing. That's the reason we are a united country right now. And that truth is not so much hidden by the mainstream, but distorted and attacked as racist.
I know that
you know, all that kind of, because it's white people having an ethno state, so they've got to attack it because they don't like white people.
I know that there was a lot of hardcore alt-righters who weren't pleased with Anning's performance on the live stream.
Well, he's very pro-Israel.
Yeah, I saw that in the stream. I'm like, there's some people who aren't going to be happy with this.
He's a boomer.
He's definitely a boomer.
Still a boomer.
Yeah.
He's been consistent with this all throughout his political life. That he's pro-Zionist. He voted for moving the embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. I mean, he doesn't pander to anyone, whether it be like people who are some of his most enthusiastic supporters. He's just who he is.
I don't think to describe that as not pandering, I don't think is accurate. I just think a boomer is only going to travel so far.
It's unlikely that Anning will ever take on the JQ. In this regard, this is where maybe a little bit of go slow might be in order, because Anning, compared to the current political paradigm, is way outside it already. So he could go the whole hog, and he'd probably get support anyway. Maybe he could even get even more support, but who knows? But even then, he's so far outside what the mainstream consider acceptable discourse that it doesn't really matter that much. And so, because he's pulling so hard to get the Overton window back to normal conversation, that he can keep doing that and it's fine. However, once the conversation gets back to where he is, it'll then be a matter of pulling it even further. If some people want to make that argument, I'm not too against Anning with his position on Israel. I mean, it's a complicated issue. I mean, I know there's the Palestinians and all that kind of thing.
As long as like you're Australia first, that you're always going to put Australia's interests first.
I don't think that we should be sending aid to Israel at all. I don't think that we should be sending aid to Palestine.
Yeah, that's not an alt-right position.
It's not like Anning is trying to present himself as an Australian nationalist when really he's like a dual citizen of Israel or anything like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So going back to you discussed on your say Adam Piggott picking Paul Taylor, and Adam Piggott also didn't like that a woman was chosen to be part of the Senate team.
Fair call.
But what it was interesting, because I got the file of the candidates and it lists their occupations, and I can't remember the name of that female candidate, but I do know her occupation was listed as housewife.
A Treadthought by any other name was just as sweet. She's still a Treadthought.
She's still a Tread.
Yeah.
Good on her for being a housewife, and maybe her kids are old enough and she wants to step into politics, but still, I'm with Adam on this one. I don't think women should be in politics at all. That again, so many people are going to hear that and be like, what the hell? He hates women. No. I actually don't think women should be in politics because I love women very, very much, and I don't think that they should be susceptible to that, and it's quite a crime against women that we push them into this political realm that really is a realm that they're not suited to biologically, just as men are not suited to giving birth. We cannot literally give birth. It's impossible for us. There are certain areas of life that the genders are, or each gender is better at, depending on which gender it is. So women are better at caring and building communities and
talking about their emotions
and all that kind of stuff. They're definitely better at cleaning houses, in my personal experience. Most men I know are filthy, and lots of women I know are not, and so that's part of that. But also on the other side, men are always going to be better athletes. We're going to be better at leadership. We're going to be better at nation building. We're going to be better generally at politics and what politics actually is. And obviously there's going to be some women who are suited to politics and all that kind of thing, and then there are going to be plenty of men who are not suited to it at all. But that's not really the point. They're specifics. We're talking about generalities here, and there's a reason that we had this rule in the past, because men are generally supposed to take that role. It's our natural role. It's the role ordained on us by nature, and thus by the Lord God, Creator.
And as I said the other day on Monday, a woman asked me the other day, if you're going to secure the existence of your people, how are you going to do it without women? Like as part of the political movement. And I said, it's obvious, because the women are at home. That's how we secure the existence of our people.
Exactly. That they have the most important role in our movement, and that is creating as many babies of European ancestry as they possibly can. That is their role, and to find good European men to settle down with and marry and give them as many babies as possible and raise those babies for their men while their men go out and provide resources so that they can raise the babies. Yeah. This is how
it's only how
they
we
do it.
It's only how we kind of like ran civilization for like, say, I don't know.
Ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, forever until 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
Well, another female candidate of Anning's that has got into trouble is Julie Hoskin. Now, she was behind the legal action to stop the Bendigo Mosque. Now, it was termed that this was failed legal action, but the mosque still hasn't been built to this day. But because she was found bankrupt, then she's going to be falling foul of Section 44. Now, the Australian Electoral Commission, they can't disqualify her. She's still going to be on the ballot, so the media's been running, well, this is an embarrassment for the party. And there's also another candidate in the ACT, Shane Van Duren. Now, his story, he's had a criminal conviction, but it's really complicated because his dog was taken to the pound. He was not allowed the dog.
It's triggering, man. It's been triggering me the whole time.
And Matty's just correcting my notes, even though nobody sees them except me.
I see them.
Yeah, well, this guy, his dog was taken to the pound. He wasn't allowed access to the dog, and so he broke the dog out, and so then the pound came to take the dog back, and so he assaulted a police officer and an RSPCA worker, and so got a suspended sentence for that. So it's quite a story, but that's seen as another embarrassment that he's got a convicted criminal running for his party, and his party's vetting processes have fallen at the first hurdle.
Well, I'll tell you what, Australia has actually dodged a bullet because Ryan Fletcher was seriously considering running for an Anning ticket. That would have just been epic. So
he's not a
imagine
convicted
the scam.
criminal, though.
Yeah.
But this Julie Hoskin, didn't she say that she was illegally bankrupt, or wasn't actually bankrupt? What was her response to that?
I'm not sure if I've got her actual response, so I can bring up the article.
They say, oh, it's... Where is it?
I'll bring it up on
It's an embarrassment.
screen share. Paywall, sorry.
Paywall on the Sydney Morning Herald?
Yes. I looked up too many free articles.
Oh, mate. What is wrong with you? Can you get it?
Yeah, that just shows I do my research.
Hey? I have a
look at lot of
VPN, so I get
Fairfax.
unlimited articles. They don't know who I am. They can't tell.
You guys keep arguing.
Yeah.
I mean, are convicted criminals allowed to sit?
No,
in
if
Australia?
they've been convicted of a crime that carries a sentence of 12 months imprisonment or more.
And his was suspended.
Yes, but if the crime still has a punishment of more than 12 months.
What do you mean, like a maximum punishment?
Yeah, maximum.
A maximum. Okay, so he's disqualified.
I mean...
Oh, well.
Yeah. He's not going to win in the ACT.
Yeah, I know. And that's because he obviously didn't put it on the application when he put his hand up. So that's just him being a little bit silly. The idea that that's embarrassing is just ridiculous. Who gives it? Who cares? Okay, so he had a candidate that once had a criminal record, and he's got a candidate that was once bankrupt. So I know the once bankrupt one, obviously, that means isn't it currently bankrupt? Is she currently bankrupt? I'm pretty sure that you have to, because bankruptcy ends in 7 years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it ends after 7 years in most.
Yeah.
I think if it's like it depends on. I think it was like as long as it's not a Section 9, I think that's what it's called. I used to know what they were, but they usually go for 7 years, and I think some can go for longer, but they do eventually come off your record. So if she's not currently a bankrupt, then it doesn't really matter is she currently listed as bankrupt? When was she declared bankrupt?
She has an application pending with
year.
the federal court in relation to an appeal. She has declined to comment on her financial status affected by a decision to nominate. Undischarged bankruptcy or insolvency is grounds for disqualification.
Undischarged. So so she's not discharged, and so apparently she's still under a bankruptcy. Well, if that's the case, then she should probably just put her hand down and get it sorted and come run in the next election. Then I mean, that's a simple solution. Sorry, you're actually still bankrupt. I understand that you're challenging it, but it is what it is.
They've got thousands of members.
They've got hundreds of applicants. That it doesn't really matter, and they've got all their Senate tickets filled out, and Senate that's where the main battleground's going to be anyway. So I wouldn't even concern myself with that news. I don't really care because because I know that he's unlikely to win a lower house seat anyway. So
I'm gonna say it's another one of those little nothing burgers.
Yeah,
like they just keep dragging these
Liberals
little
have
things
three
They're
candidates
saying
to
his name, though, so who
withdraw
cares?
for dual citizenship.
Beg your pardon?
The Liberal Party had three candidates withdraw.
And
due to
didn't the
dual
ALP have
citizenship.
people leave because of dual citizenship or something? No.
That was in
the
not
One
at
Nation
this
did.
election.
One Nation did. That's why Fraser Anning has a seat. So I wouldn't
It's the
even
best thing that happened to Australia.
worry about that story. Like, who cares?
Yeah. You know who
their biggest story could possibly be like tomorrow, like just if
Cronulla.
in Cronulla, if that goes big. Like, you just know that the media are going to blow it up because it's
fantastic. It'll hopefully make content for days.
Yeah, the symbolism is huge with that.
Yeah. Hopefully someone live streams it and we can see. It's annoying because I won't get to vlog it.
Yeah,
he needs to do one in Melbourne. Another one.
Another St Kilda one.
Yeah. One in St Kilda, where he goes down to St Kilda, and he does that speech that I put in the ad.
Yes.
Just that specific speech.
Or he could go to those Flemington Flats.
Yeah, wherever. I don't know.
Outside the old Milo
isn't the idea to trigger people as much as possible, trigger the media into an overreaction so that he can just be like, oh, I'm not going to cock.
Yeah, well, they're just on the ground.
Yeah.
You can just imagine the triggering fit.
Of what?
Someone needs to do an impersonation of a triggering fit.
Dave?
I don't know if I can do that. You're the impersonations man.
This is the impersonation. Well, this is Bill Shorten having a triggering. That's how Bill Shorten gets triggered.
Now, the man who could derail the nationalist candidates this election is Clive Palmer is attempting to return to Parliament with his United Australia Party. He announced he was running for the Queensland Senate, and he spent $30 million on ads. And if you watch TV or YouTube ads, pretty much you're bound to run into a Palmer ad almost within the hour. It just plays. He even advertises on programs which bag him, like Sky News. They have a go at him. He still advertises there.
The ABC are referring to him as somebody who'll likely get votes as well.
Yeah, well, because 30 billion buys you a lot.
Million. Billion would buy a fair bit.
And of course, he's hardly got any policies. And when he was last in Parliament with his Senate team, I mean, he gave us Jackie Lambie, who's the biggest statist that you could possibly imagine. He blocked Tony Abbott's budget repair. He initially voted against the repeal of the carbon tax and the mining tax. He kept the renewable energy target and Clean Energy Finance Corporation, and then there was the press conference with Al Gore. And now he says, we need to get out of the Paris Agreement and we need to stop selling our minerals to China. Yet his core flutes are made in China when everyone else gets them printed locally. I'm sorry, if you're convinced by, $30 million worth of advertising, you're thinking of voting for Clive and you've forgotten about the first time, then you're a moron. You are. I know that might be seen as talking down to people, but you're a fool. You should not vote for such a dickhead.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with everything you just said, Tim. Yeah.
He'll probably get votes from people just wanting to protest as well.
For protest by voting for Pauline Hanson or Fraser Anning.
Well, obviously, that's what we say, but some people are just going to be like, I saw his ad, you know, they'll just vote for him because they know who he is and they saw his name, and that's the way people vote. I think he'll probably get votes. He might get a seat again. It's going to be an interesting election.
I think
it'll be interesting to see what the crossbench looks like.
Yeah, and the difference between Fraser and Clive is Fraser has shown that you're able to get a big publicity and like worldwide publicity just by like not cucking, and you're able to, and B, you're able to get grassroots support by not cucking.
Yeah.
Like Clive Palmer is literally just buying his face everywhere.
I want to play, this was from 2013, the ABC program, the Gruen Transfer. They had a challenge to, there was a pro...
Maybe I'll give us a listen.
There was a pro-Clive ad that they put to air, and then there was an anti-Clive ad, and I really love
My ears now smell like Tim.
Yeah, the Clive ad, and it's more relevant more than ever, so I'll just play it now. Where is it? Here it is.
Clive Palmer, the guy who loves Jurassic Park so much he's building his own. We all know how that movie ended. The very same Clive Palmer building a replica of the Titanic. Everyone died in that one too. Now this maniac is running for Prime Minister, and if he's elected, no one is safe. Clive Palmer as Prime Minister will end badly. If you want to survive, don't vote for Clive.
Yeah, I love it.
Again, it's a little bit get up.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit boomer and lame. Okay, whoa, looky, Titanic.
Well,
look at the crappy CGI and everything.
Well, the places where he was going to build those replicas, that was his cool resort that he purchased, which he ran into the ground. Then he ran the nickel refinery in North Queensland into the ground. He's only now decided to pay his workers out of the goodness of his heart. He said, oh, it's not me, it's the creditors. Oh, but I'll pay them anyway because I'm a generous person.
It's also important to remember that, like, Clive Palmer, like, the reason he's a billionaire, like, he made one good land sale and then he sued the people that he sold the land to. That's why he's a billionaire. He's not a genius businessman.
And I also want to...
He's not a Donald Trump.
Shame the alt-righters who thought he was, you know, the messiah about a year ago because he released a few fashy memes, which were by Andrew and Redemir when they work for him. Like, just because somebody does a few memes like, oh, like, that's awesome, let's vote for Clive. No, he was just... This is what Clive always is. He just tries to go with whatever's popular. I mean, now his ads have, like, one of his female candidates saying, I read Clive Palmer's speech in Parliament on gender equality, and now I'm voting for him. Like, have you ever done that before? Just read a speech by a politician and said, I'm voting for them?
Well, I listened to Fraser Annings and I said I was voting for him.
Yeah, but they're a bit special.
I cheered while I saw that.
I love that speech. That was the only ever Maiden speech I've watched to this date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never watched any other Maiden. I don't think I've watched a minute of any other speech, and I watched that one from start to finish.
So I'm glad that finally the nationalist community has woken up to him, and Pauline Hanson, she released a video where she highlighted the core flutes made in China, and also the fact that, you know, you don't want to work with me and preference me, but you want to all preference Clive, given his track record. Because let's remember, Scott Morrison wants to now do a preference deal with the man who helped bring down Tony Abbott's policies and his prime ministership, and you're going to bring him back into the tent. I mean that just shows how grubby politicians you are.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying that, like, Clive Palmer comes across... So what you're saying is that Clive Palmer comes across as basically a globalist infiltrator of the nationalist scene.
Well, he was for about 5 minutes, and there were fools enough to believe it.
Yeah. But he's still like a globalist infiltrator of that.
He's just for Clive.
I think he's a crony
capitalist.
I think he's just trying to get into politics so he can make more money.
But he's trying to appeal to that middle Australia that the Fraser.
Well, he just wants power. He just wants to be in Parliament. Well, vote for me just so he can get in there for shits and giggles. I don't take him seriously at all.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who says I can deliver fast trains is talking bullshit. Like,
Well, go and deliver it then.
Fast trains are never going to happen.
You're a billionaire. Go and deliver it
if
then.
If a politician says, I want to bring in fast rail, then you know that they're cooked.
Yeah, that's true. But, especially when you've got money. You got $1 billion. How much does a fast train cost? More than $1 billion.
I think so.
Well, he can put $1 billion in there, and he can say, "Well, I'll put my money down." And if he does that, then maybe we'll believe him. But I don't believe him for a second. I don't believe anything he says other than vote for me.
Yeah, with fast trains in Australia, like people on the left like to keep going on about how we're like the only developed nation in the world without a fast train network. That's because we have a population of 25 million in a country the size of America. So it's going to take mass immigration for decades. To
Maybe that's what they really want. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the secret reason that the left really want
Because
mass
they really
immigration.
want their train set.
They want a fast train. That's why they're
Yeah.
boomers. They're all boomers.
Yeah.
That's why every boomer supports it, because they wish to see Australia as just one big train set, and they want to have the upgrade to the fast trains. They've got the slow trains now. Dad never let them get the fast train, and now they want the fast train, and they'll do anything they can to get it, even if it means destroying the country.
Yeah. But again, the reason why we're going after Clive Palmer, if Sarah Hanson-Young is great because she's obviously insane and she's great content. Same with vegans, they're hilarious. But Clive Palmer, his constituency is the Middle Australia, who should be if they want real change, they should be voting for Fraser Anning. At the very least, they should be voting for Pauline Hanson. Clive Palmer is taking away from the vote from that constituency, and that's why it's important to actually make this clear, he's not genuinely for change. He's not genuinely for Middle Australia. He's not for ordinary people.
He'll probably, with Prime Minister Bill Shorten, probably sign off on all of his radical policies.
Yeah.
All that stuff in exchange for a permit on a new mine or something along those lines.
Yeah, and then he'll get to go on the ABC, and it's like, we love you, Clive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a spanner in the works there. I'm not really concerned.
Now,
he could win seats, he could not, but who knows?
He better not. That's what I'll say. Otherwise, I would rather Sarah Hanson-Young be re-elected than Clive Palmer win a Senate seat. That's how much I despise him.
Fair enough. And the thing is, if Hanson won her Senate seat and Clive didn't, that would be good for our movement, because a seat less for Clive is a seat more for us, because I don't see people voting for Clive saying, "Oh no, I can't vote for Clive anymore. I'm going to vote for the Liberal Party again." No, they'd be like, "Oh, I can't vote for Clive anymore. I'm going to vote for another minor party."
Yeah.
He really is just taking away minor party vote. I don't think he's helping our cause one bit. He's in it for Clive and only Clive.
It was his preferences in 2013 that actually delivered Sarah Hanson-Young for another term, because he did a preference deal with the Greens.
So he's just one of those people. Just a horrendous individual.
Snake.
Apparently he has lots of chocolate in his private jet. That's why he's so fat.
No,
That's what I
Tim
heard.
Tams. Tim Tams.
Oh, Tim Tams.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
He loves his Tim Tams and his Cokes and all that kind of. This is just what I've heard.
Yeah. Going back to
He's a
Sarah
slob of a person.
Hanson-Young,
Apparently.
I would
Heard
like
on the grapevine, allegedly.
I would like to see her be beat by One Nation, because she says that's her greatest fear. And I did enjoy Malcolm Roberts. He's been really good on social media. He posted a photo of Sarah Hanson-Young crying, basically saying, if you want to make this picture become a reality, sign up to be a volunteer to elect a One Nation senator in South Australia.
Imagine if it was Fraser Anning that took her seat.
Oh, well, he'll take Larissa Waters' seat.
If he took,
that's great. Larissa Waters is the chick who was pushing the gender neutral.
And wouldn't condemn Antifa when Martin Hartwig confronted her about his assault at the hands of them. She said, "Well, if they're racists, then."
Seriously, she seriously said that? It's okay if they're racist.
It's on Martin's YouTube channel.
She actually said that.
Well, yeah, she tried to sort of weasel her way out of it, saying, "Oh, we don't want racist people."
So it's okay to assault because they have
She
music
didn't
you don't
say
like.
that directly, but
she inferred it.
She inferred it.
Yeah.
That's horrendous. Let's hope she loses. Well, let's hope that Fraser Anning takes both the seats. Wouldn't that be a dream?
Oh, but if he wins two seats in Queensland, then Paul Taylor's the second.
Is he the second?
Yeah, he's the second. I
He's
looked
the
up the
second
order.
on the rank?
Yep.
Oh. See, that's no good. That's not good at all. He should. All right, maybe if he was like third or fourth. I thought he was lower on the list. But no, we're here for predominantly European heritage. We can't have an Indian senator in a party for predominantly European heritage as the second candidate. Sure, okay, you got 10 candidates and one of them is an Anglo-Indian. All right, we'll let that one go. But you can't have us. I actually didn't realise it was that
I
high.
noticed this election, right, because Paul Taylor is a former Rise Up Australia Party candidate, which is run by Danny Nalia here in Victoria, who is a Sri Lankan Christian. It's interesting, he's second on the ticket this election, and Rosalie Cristalli, who's a City of Case councillor, she's white, she's first on the ticket.
In which one? In what?
In Victoria.
In
Senate,
Victoria.
In the Senate ticket.
Okay, so we got a woman first on the Senate in Victoria and an Indian second on the Senate in Queensland.
An Indian is number 2.
Well, I'm talking about Rise Up in Victoria.
Oh, you're talking about Rise Up in Victoria.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. But Fraser Anning will have different candidates in Victoria.
Yeah.
Okay, so we haven't seen that. Well, as long as Fraser gets... The thing is, as long as... All right, we can forgive it if Mr. Taylor is all out and goes full WN.
Well...
He has to go full WN.
You remember...
Full 14... If he goes full 1788 and, like, wears it on his sleeve and he's basically fighting our battle, he's overcompensating for something, you know? If we went that hard, then all right, we'll let him off.
You know the Sri Lankan I used to work with at the Unshackled, Sukas?
He went pretty full on, yeah.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
Even full on for us white folk.
That's good. Good for him. See, that's what Mr. Paul Taylor needs to do. He's like, I changed my name because I wanted to be white so bad.
Well, speaking of Sri Lankans, we should have an update on the attack on Easter worshippers and other non-denominational people.
Oh, yeah, they didn't say the name. I was hoping, I mean, it's 10 o'clock now. I was kind of hoping we'd finish up by now.
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes.
Oh, we got 5 more minutes, do we?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, you out of sleep here. Now you're tired.
Oh,
here you go, Matty.
I mean, me and David are running on empty, but we're doing this for the...
I've been up since 4:30.
Yeah.
5 minutes snooze in the car, that's it.
Yeah, you weak.
Me. All right, let's continue then.
Yeah.
I'll just have a sleep while you guys talk.
So it is confirmed that this Sri Lankan Islamic group was behind the attack, and now Islamic State has claimed responsibility. So it took a while, but we knew what it was. The Unshackled actually broke it first, that it was this Islamic group in Sri Lanka. I should bring up the actual name of it because it's a mouthful. Where is it? Yes, the National Tawheed Jamaat. That's what it's called.
Can you say that again?
I'm probably having it. National Tawheed Jamaat.
I just want to hear you say that again.
No.
Let's not jump to conclusions. And it's Muslim.
Yeah.
So the other big story with this is that a Sri Lankan junior defence minister has basically come out and said that it was linked essentially to the Christchurch incident.
But he's been contradicted by other politicians who said, well, why would an attack in the name of white supremacy be aimed at us brown people?
Yes, but has he been contradicted by Sri Lankan politicians?
Yes.
Okay. But because I just think that was just the moment that the truth actually slipped out, because of course it is. That's the thing about Christchurch. As we've sort of talked about, Brenton Tarrant in his manifesto, he said that he wanted to go after Muslims because he knew that Muslims would react to it. And since then, we've had a number of different reactions. We've had a very suspicious fire in Notre Dame.
Well,
we've had
lots of suspicious fires in France at churches over the last year or so.
Exactly.
Well, Notre Dame was an accident before the fire went out. It was deemed an accident.
Yeah.
Right away.
Which just started.
Move along, people. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising if evidence comes out to contradict that eventually, but we'll see.
Recep Erdogan openly threatened Australians and New Zealanders.
Oh, but he found the Islamists who was going to attack the Gallipoli commemorations in Turkey.
Yes, so there was actually an attempted terrorist attack.
Yeah, but he stopped it, so he sort of made up for it. He sort of like
because he has to.
Yes.
He basically incited a terrorist attack inside his own country.
That's the thing, and that's what this old BT was trying to get. He was trying to get this kind of reaction and get this polarization. And meanwhile, while the Western governments and while the Western establishment completely ignore these facts, things are only going to get worse. And it's just going to keep spiraling out of control because they're just not equipped to deal with what's on its way and what's already happening. And
And the thing I find about Sri Lanka is, and the point I made, I think yesterday, like in Sri Lanka, they don't have the kind of globalist control that we have here. Like just not, it's not as all pervasive. So like there's just that room for like that little bit of truth to slip out before it just got squashed down again.
Did you know, it just got confirmed to me by a friend of mine tonight that practicing Catholicism is now being banned in Sri Lanka for their own safety. They're not allowed to practice their religion because of the terrorist attack.
Oh, that's very globalist.
Oh, and I saw some people try to argue that it was correct to not use the C word because there was only three out of the 8 targets were churches and the other were hotels and that. So it wasn't exclusively an attack on Christians. So therefore you're just trying to make Christians the victims here when... Well, they're only some of the victims.
So it's basically standard operational procedure.
Yeah.
And notice how when a white guy does it and protect Muslims, and then Muslims go and kill Sri Lankan Christians, and quick hush. Oh, they weren't Christians. Oh no, not all Muslims. It's just the same thing over and over again. People have just got to wake up.
Is a majority Buddhist, and the largest religious minority is Hindu. So Christians are like really tiny. So out of all the like religious monuments they could have attacked in Sri Lanka, they chose coincidence. They just went after Christian ones.
Yeah. So of course it has to do with Christchurch. Yeah. We are in a religious war and a race war. The media and the globalist establishment are the ones who incite it, but all the while denying that it's going on and calling us conspiracy theorists and extremists whenever we mention it.
Pure evil, the media government establishment. They are actually proper satanic evil. They're just horrendous people. And what I'll tell them is that karma's a bitch and second lives exist. So strap yourselves in, boys. You're in for some.
Matty needs to get another 14 hours sleep, so we'll call it a night. We've got the pillow still there.
Just exhausted. Absolutely exhausted.
You look tired.
Just
drained. You look drained.
Just drained and
wake up
constantly
for XYZ
working.
Live next Monday.
I'll try wake up for that. What is it?
8:30?
9:30 in the evening?
Yeah,
9:30. I don't know, mate.
9:15.
9:15.
9 o'clock if we decide to start early. It'll be 9 o'clock.
Yeah, if you sort of can't get back to sleep.
She'll be right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, if Matty's awake, make sure you subscribe to his channel, Matty's Modern Life, and the XYZ Live channel, Matty Rose Live.
And if you haven't already, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Make sure that you read the XYZ every day.
Every day. And get to Cronulla tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.
If you're in Sydney.
Yeah, if you're in Sydney.
And of course,
film it for us, please. Make sure there's lots of filming.
And of course, check out The Unshackled on a regular basis. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've
After
got
XYZ.
Lots of content there. I'm beginning to have just an alt media diet. XYZ Live on Monday nights. James Fox Higgins on Tuesday. Dia on Wednesdays. Of course, we're here on Thursdays. And then, of course, Foxy's Friday on the Friday nights.
There's basically no excuse to watch mainstream media.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't really watch any mainstream media. I don't watch any mainstream media anymore. I will read The Australian on occasions, and I'll troll as in like, go through on a mass basis to find content from left-wing sites because it's useful.
You should do what I do. Just watch the Key Report for 2 hours.
You watch the Kenny report?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
You got to know what they're
no.
gonna. Like Dave does, you've got you know thy enemy.
I will know thy enemy. I will know thy enemy through you.
Yeah,
fools.
know thy cuck.
Oh, I can't do it.
Can we name a cuck of the week?
Oh, do we have a
cuck of the week? Oh, it's a tie between.
Is it Fraser?
No way. It's either Bill Shorten or Daniel Andrews.
Well, it has to be. They'd be like cuck of the millennium so far.
Yeah, but Daniel Andrews for hijacking Anzac Day.
Yeah, for his Anzac Day speech, I'll pay that.
Yeah.
Bill Shorten can't be a cuck because he's already been programmed. Yeah. You can't, being a cuck implies that you have free will, so you choose to cuck. I think it probably works for Daniel Andrews because he probably chose to sell his soul to get a little bit of power and wealth on this earth, and like I said before, your next life's going to be a bitch, mate.
And we should also plug our other. I've already mentioned James Fox Higgins, but we're doing a bit of teaming up with the Pickering Post, so we should also
Pickering
instruct our followers to check out the Pickering Post, named after the late cartoonist Larry Pickering, which is now run by Harry Richardson. It's still ever popular than ever, so make sure you add that to your bookmarks.
Pickering Post was one of the things that inspired me to start up with the XYZ. Yeah.
So certainly we're all sticking together in this brave new paradigm. Clown World, that's it.
Hong
Kong.
Hong Kong,
So
everybody.
thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back at around 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time next Thursday night. Until then,
there's a wave.
It's
a wave.
Good night.
I'm waving. It's a wave.
The Uncuckables.